And welcome back to Habs Unfiltered. We are joined now by a special guest, Grant McCagg of Recruits.ca. Welcome to the show, Grant.
Hey.
So it's been a while since we've been online together.
Yeah, I missed it, boy.
Yeah.
Been jonesing.
So we figured I figured let's bring you on. We'll talk a little bit about the Canadiens prospects in Laval, considering how well Laval has been doing this season.
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, I had to, bring Treg along. Sorry.
Yeah, if you'd have told me that ahead of time, I would have found some wallpaper to put up or something.
We just send him pictures of us flipping him off. So
yeah.
So we may as well just jump right into it. The Laval Rocket have been killing it this season. There's no playoffs, unfortunately. If there were, they would be a favorite for the Calder Cup for sure. But we've been seeing the work that Joel Bouchard has been putting into these young prospects now that the Canadiens prospects are coming up. So with that youth movement starting to arrive, can you give us, as someone who's been watching them very closely, a little bit of a background on some of these players?
Yeah, it's I think this is the most exciting rookie crop that they've had in a long time. Unfortunately, Ylönen's out right now, but he's really been impressing this year. It's funny, you look at it, and a veteran on the team now is somebody that's been there 3 years. There's so many first and second year guys in the lineup. Like any given night, it's at least half the lineup, and that's pretty exciting that they've developed that much already. Only a 2-year span under Bouchard, so it's very encouraging. The Sylvain Lefebvre days are long, in the rearview mirror, and I think in his defense, at the time there weren't a lot of top 90 guys getting drafted and going through the system. So yeah, he maybe didn't develop a lot of guys, but he didn't get a lot of top end guys to develop either. So Joel came along at the right time, I think, and he's doing a great job. And the crop is really developing nicely in the team. It never hurts when the team's playing well. I think this is the best team that they've had in at least a decade. So you want a winning atmosphere throughout the organization. Not just with the Canadiens, but with the farm team, and that's really starting to happen.
Now, you mentioned Ylönen. The reason he's out, if people haven't seen the hit, it was reminiscent of the Pacioretty hit, where he kind of went into a stanchion as he was getting hit. Before that, though, he was showing quite a bit of speed, an excellent shot, and some good offensive reads. But to move up to the next level, he's going to have to play some defensive hockey as well. Did he meet that requirement, do you believe?
I think he was playing pretty well defensively. It's funny, I was asking Joel about his father, who he played with in Phoenix, and he said he was a defensive centerman first and foremost. So certainly, he's got the coaching on two ends there, right? Not like Galchenyuk, who got told by Terrian to back check and got told by his old man to keep doing what he's doing. It's at both ends with Ylönen, because his dad, I'm sure, will be stressing the defensive end of things as well when he's giving him that fatherly coaching chat. So I thought he was coming along fine defensively. He could probably use another 5-10 pounds, get up to Trage's size there, and then he'll be all set.
What, 5 foot nothing?
I meant girth.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
okay.
But he's wide though, so he can cut down the angles and throw those elbows out.
That's right.
Yeah. See, at 5 feet tall, you don't need to add a lot of weight to make it wider.
I see where this is going.
We love you.
Oh, yeah.
We love you.
You're our favorite Smurf.
I'm the size of Caufield. Okay, I'm 5'8". That's not saying much, but
Well, I tower over you at 5'9", so.
So another prospect that Habs fans have been clamoring to see called up is Ryan Paling. Now, Paling started the season off pretty well. He had a little bit of an injury, came back. Can you give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you see from him this season?
Oh, I hate giving breakdowns, but sure, I'll give it my best shot here. He's playing great.
Perfect. But he has shown good speed this year. He's crashing towards the net. He's got some good speed. Do you feel that by the end of this shortened AHL season, he should be a call up for the Black Aces?
Oh yeah, I would think so. Especially if, I don't know, like you're saying, they definitely aren't. Has it been officially said that they aren't having a playoff?
Patrick Williams this morning said on Twitter that they're looking at scheduling. They might schedule the playoffs, but nothing's been officially canceled.
I know originally at the start of the year, I know that they were saying it's just not going to happen.
But he tweeted something out today or yesterday about they're looking at maybe doing a playoff. So
yeah, I think they're probably going to try to do something. You would think. I sure hope so. But that it's dependent on that, right? I mean, if the AHL ends up having a playoff, Laval's in the running for to go all the way.
Definitely.
So do you call up Palings in that circumstance? It's hard to say. Like he's kind of the number one center now in Laval, and do you break the momentum that he's gaining? And I think the plan has sort of been, from my understanding, is to keep him there all year if they can, and let him just fully develop and come back next year and win the spot and just go from there. But certainly he'd be a great Black Ace if they don't have a playoff. Bring him up and maybe even get him in a few games. I miss the old days. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember, but 80s, 90s when they'd 93 they called up. They must have had 30 guys that played in the playoffs that year. Demers would bring guys in and out. Like he had no issues at all dressing rookies. If there was a couple of guys vets that weren't playing great, bring them in. And I mean, that energy that the kid brings when he's he's full of adrenaline. My first playoff game, and they play like lights out. And I'd love to see the organization do that again. Unlike in the past when they trade for Steve Ott and King, and they don't give any of the kids a one playoff game and just play all these slow check first conservative players in the playoffs and not bring in any rookie energy at all. For me, that was a big reason why they won in 93, was because of that. They have those guys in the organization right now, and if they make the playoffs and they're called up, I'd love to see Ylonen, Caufield, Palings all get at least some action in the playoffs when Armia invariably starts to suck again, or whoever's in the lineup. I'm sure there'll be somebody in the third, fourth line that's not playing up to snuff. So, yeah, I mean, Paling's speed. Trevor pointed it out to me, a month ago or so when we were talking about him, just that he's noticeably faster this year. I think, unlike the previous year when he went to Florida, when COVID first struck and stuff, and maybe didn't work out as much as he should have, and then didn't get a single playoff game because of it. I think he dedicated himself after that and got himself in really good shape before January, and it's paying off for him now.
That's also part of a maturation process where younger players who things have come a little bit easier to them start to notice that at this level they don't.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great interview with him in October, November, and he seemed to get it that he has to be more consistent and play hard every night, and then things will start to come. And I think we've seen that. Like his confidence level since the start of the AHL season is just, once he scored that first goal and then came back from his injury, kept working, and then the points started coming. He's he's creating on a nightly basis, and I really think that they're going to try Caufield with him. He's setting up plays every game that should be buried. If he's playing with Caufield, that's going to be. I think I'm going to prefer, if a Montreal game and a Laval game are on at the same time, I'm probably going to watch the friggin' Laval game.
Do you just throw in there, Blaine, for Paling? Do you think the 3-goal game against Toronto kind of went to his head going into the next season last year?
Well, I asked him that, and he's, well, maybe subconsciously, this and that. I have said that, maybe that was the worst thing that could have happened to him in a roundabout kind of way, that thinking, oh, well, I've got it, I've got a spot sewn up, especially when he, I guess when he said he admitted that when he was sent down that he didn't think that they should have been. Well, he had a concussion and he played like one exhibition game to start the year. KK, outplayed him. He deserved the spot, so he didn't deserve it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think there was a little bit of an attitude adjustment there. It was funny when I brought that up with Rob Ramage when I got a chance to talk to him, and he says, yeah, well, he says, but would you take that back? First ever NHL game, you score a hat trick, and score the game winner in the shootout against the Leafs. Like, you never, yeah, maybe it went to his head a bit, but I mean, he's got something that he can brag to his grandkids about someday.
Oh, definitely. I just found my argument for Paling, because I'm a Paling fan, was last year was his first real year of pro, so you kind of have to back off him a bit and go, you can't base his entire career just on one game. Like hell, guys have scored hat tricks before that never should have scored a hat trick in the NHL, but they've got one for some reason. So I found last year, Brian Wild said it best in Montreal in his 20 some odd game, he never got the puck on a stick. And if you're not playing with the puck, you're not doing anything. So I thought this year in Laval was, to me, Paling's most important year with the organization.
Andre Tournier, I was talking to him about it and said, he should have never played with Montreal last year. And it's true. When he was called up, he wasn't producing and playing well at the AHL level. I think it was more, well, he's the first round pick. We got to look, we don't want to be criticized about it. Let's call him up. Well, they took a different tack this year, No, let's be patient with him. Let him truly find his confidence at the AHL level and be playing where he just, you have to give him a spot. And I really like the patience that they're showing with him this year.
Do you think the patience that they're showing, which is reminiscent to the Red Wings of the 90s and early 2000s, do you think that this patience is born from having a deeper roster at the NHL level?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of it, definitely. I think that you can be more patient when you have good depth, and that, I mean, when Stahl and Armia are ready to come back in the lineup, there's already debates about who's, Byron and Lehkonen are playing well now. Who the hell comes out of the lineup? Evans, last game was maybe his best of the year, or since that shorthanded goal game that early on. I don't know which guy do you pull out of the lineup right now. And so that's a good pleasant problem to have.
Well, and this is where using the taxi squad, the way Demers did 93, I kind of equate the two to the same kind of idea. You bring in that youth, you bring in those fresh legs, and by having a constant rotation, especially with the condensed schedule, that's going to have a larger impact on the overall team play, I believe.
Oh yeah, you are old enough to remember that one, eh?
Oh yeah, I was there.
I don't hear Matt saying too much.
So in '93, I was this many. So
I was in high school. So
yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, I just finished basic training.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, what were you asking?
Well, Matt had a question.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
I've got.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how you doing? I've got one about goaltending. So they kind of came out at the start of the year and they said that Primo was going to be their guy. He was going to get the majority of the games. So far, he's played very well. He's picked up 11 wins. Got another shutout last night. The fear has been within the organization and around the media and around everyone is that if Jake Allen is plucked up from and goes to Seattle, is Primo ready to jump into the NHL and be that backup to Carey Price?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe they protect Allen and expose Carey Price. Is that not a possibility as well?
There are people that have been talking about it.
Yeah.
Price would have to agree to it.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Well, okay. No, that's probably not going to happen then. Although Seattle's not far from BC, is it?
His wife's from Seattle.
That's true.
And the wife's from Seattle, so you know.
But if it happened though, if it happened that that he did get plucked out, because right now with the numbers he has, and depending on who else that they are able to get at the goaltending position, having Allen and player X as a goaltending tandem to start a new franchise would probably put you in a good position.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not going to be Demko. He's played one
That's
game
right.
so far.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, and you can always get another goalie, right?
That's right.
There's, I mean, if that's what ends up happening, then you get another vet, and if Primo's not ready, if Primo doesn't beat him out in camp, then you go with the other goalie. You can always find a decent backup goalie as long as you scout it right,
That's right.
And I mean, there's a bit of luck involved too, because you can't predict goalies. Kincaid, like who would have guessed that he'd have been that horrible, given him how he played before. Scott Darling, when he went to Carolina, oh, there's a great pickup, he'll be good. He sucked,
Yeah.
But then there's the Devin Dubnyk when he was with Montreal. Oh, he'll never play in the NHL again. And then he went and had some fantastic years after that, So in that sense, I think if it happens, you hope that he's ready. But if he's not, you get another backup and you give him another year. But the way he's looked in the last month or so, it wouldn't surprise me if he could play and contribute next year at the NHL level. That's for sure.
But staying on goaltending, what was the point in Demko? What was the point in that signing of the contract? Like, is he just extra depth for Laval? Like, he's gotten one game, and like, does Bouchard have any plan of using him, or just going with McNevin and Primo?
Well, I guess maybe they weren't sure about McNevin,
Yeah.
And I think he's impressed the organization and Bouchard this year, taking another step. I mean, you have a 9-month layoff or whatever it is. You don't know how exactly guys are going to be, if they, did they train properly, all that stuff, and extra depth. And I guess with COVID too, right? You wanted as much depth as at each position as possible, because McNevin could miss, or even Primo could have missed a month or with COVID. So I guess they figured extra depth.
One guy that surprised me a little bit, and he was a depth move, I think, for the AHL, was Corey Chumann, the left-handed defenseman that they signed him to an AHL deal. And what was it, yesterday or day before, that he signed an NHL contract? So do you think that had something to do with Harris not signing?
Sure. I think that's there's a direct correlation there, and only 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So, they've got that extra contract that they had earmarked for Harris. Well, let's sign him for a year and see what happens here, and fallback position to a certain degree if Harris ends up bolting, next year and not signing with the Habs. So yeah, he's a very good skater, very mobile, moves the puck well. Not crazy about his defensive game, but it's not horrible. He's he's a decent AHL player for sure. Now, whether he ever gets an NHL shot, I don't know. I'd put Leskinen ahead of him right now if you wanted to call one of the two up. I think Leskinen would be the preferred player, but yeah, I'm glad they're that's kudos to the pro scouting there that they managed to pluck him from another organization, and he's looked good.
So with how he's looked, and you get another guy that's come from an AHL contract to earn an NHL contract. Belzil was another one. Do you see anybody else within the organization right now in an AHL deal that could possibly be the next one to get an NHL contract?
Well, judging by how much he's playing, I guess Bisson's uh, clearly Bouchard likes him at least.
Yeah.
He went from not playing the first month at all to being top three in minutes the last month. I think he's playing in all situations for them. I don't necessarily know that think he's great or anything like that, but he's a good skater too, and he hasn't looked bad. So wouldn't surprise me if if, but I think contracts. There's so many draft picks to sign coming up and
That's true.
stuff. I don't know that there's any other guys that other than high picks, draft picks that are going to get one of those contracts, but certainly he's a guy that's surprised.
Do you see Leskinen at a Leskinen Fleury Brook? Now, Brook's having a pretty good offensive season. I think I read today over an 82 game schedule, he'd have 40 some odd points. He's on pace for 40 over an 82. And last year, Brook seemed to have not a very good year in Laval. Like he seemed to have taken a step back. Is he further ahead, do you think, than Leskinen and Fleury? Or out of those three, because they're the three that people can see in Montreal more than anyone else, who do you think could make the team next season in Montreal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like Brook. Brook was an AHL rookie last year, so it wasn't completely surprising that he struggled a bit. And yeah, he's on like a 40-point pace without being on the top power play. He plays a little bit on the power play, and it's funny. I asked Bouchard about that early on, like 70.5 points in his last WHL season, and was one of the best power play defensemen in the league. Like, how come he's not getting that opportunity? He basically made it sound like, oh, he's not going to be a power play guy in the NHL. Like, he's only going to make it as a defense first guy, which kind of surprised me, to be honest with you. I don't think he's been really given the opportunity to show. He's a very good passer. Yeah, power play and stuff. He's probably the best passing defenseman, I think, on the team.
He fed Ylonen the other night for a pretty good pass.
Yeah. I saw that. Like, I scouted him faithfully in the WHL, and I saw a pile of like passes that were real eye openers, and I'm hoping that he changes his mind on that, starts putting him on the first power play, maybe with Ylonen out, because Ylonen was on the point on the power play, right? I'm hoping he gets a little more opportunity that way. He's got to look at the stats and say, geez, the points he's putting up without being on the first power play, maybe that McCagg guy was right, I don't think that's what he'd say, but anyway. Out of the three, it's a good question. Fleury's kind of stalled a bit. Looked really good his first couple games, and he had that injury. And since then, I don't know. And Leskinen, he's come along defensively, but he's not showing the same offensive flair that he did when he first joined the team last year. So it's none of them are really jumping out at me as oh yeah, they got to make the team next year. But Brook I think has made the most improvement, and if that continues and he keeps improving on the defensive end of the game, certainly. I mean, I had him as a first round pick in his draft year, so I've always been kind of a Brook backer, and I hope that he I think he has the most potential of those three to be an NHLer and to put up points if he's given that opportunity.
Now, one guy that that's under an AHL contract that I think may earn himself a two-way deal is Laval's version of Gallagher, the Lavaliger, Harvey Pinard. He's played extremely well in his first pro season, and has played a similar game as Gallagher. What's your thoughts on him?
Oh, he didn't sign an NHL deal, no?
No, it was an AHL contract.
Okay, yeah. Oh, certainly, yeah. He'd be another guy. Then, why didn't you just ask me that to begin with?
Well, I have to let them ask some stuff too, right?
Is this a gotcha moment or what?
Nope.
Okay, no, I agree, for sure. That'd be another guy that, yeah, I could see him earning an NHL deal for sure. He's really impressed, and like I dubbed him Lavaliger there. I think it certainly the first month, anyways. You saw a lot of it. Maybe he has dropped off a little bit. I don't know if it's complacency, where he's seems to be in the top six no matter what now. He's playing every position, every situation, and regardless of whether he's really doing a lot or not. I think his play has dropped off, to be honest with you, in the past month. I don't think he's still as hungry as he was when he started. Verbeek's the guy now that looks like he's hungry out there. He's playing like Lavaliger did the first month, to a certain degree. I think you have to be hungry. And I don't know, personally, I would demote Lavaliger for a bit, and maybe he'll get that hunger back that we saw in the first month, where he was driving to the net and doing all the little things. But certainly, yeah, he's impressed a fair bit. Certainly in the first month, especially. Now maybe not as much, but another guy that that the coach really loves. He loves his Quebec. He loves his Quebec League guys. There's no doubt about that. You see it throughout the lineup there. He seems to almost give a preference to those guys if there's guys that are close. Like I've been frustrated the last 2 years that Verbeek never really got a chance till now, and now when you see him play, where the heck has he been? Why hasn't he been playing the last?
Well, he didn't play for the first couple months. He never played a game for the first couple months, did he?
And last year he only played 6, and he was in the ECHL. I watched him in the Sioux, and he's just he never stops. You'd wonder. I'm surprised that Bouchard hasn't loved him from day one. I think now he's proven that you can't take him out of the lineup if especially if there's not a 35-man roster as they had. Like starting next year, hopefully he gets a full opportunity right from day one. He's another guy that I think could earn a NHL contract someday. He plays the type of style that I think he could be a fourth-line guy that's just pure energy.
Does he play similar to his father?
He does, yeah. Oh yeah, he's got a bit of a stocky, no quit attitude. Not as talented as his dad, obviously, but he can skate, and he has a motor, nonstop motor. And I've been most impressed with him the last couple of weeks as a guy that I think is really coming on.
So who comes out then when Caufield goes in? Who do you think is the guy that's going to drop out of the lineup?
Laval, you mean?
Yeah, like when Caufield comes into Laval's lineup, I think it's the 5th is what they're saying his first game will be. Who's coming out of that lineup?
Well, they're taking guys out every night. They have like 35, 33 guys or whatever. So
maybe a better question would be who would come out of the top 6?
Yeah.
Okay, to bring him in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it'd be Harvey Pinard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
And would you take Teasdale off Palings' line? Because you said you want a Caufield with him. Because Teasdale's been playing fairly well for a guy who had a broken leg all last year. But
oh yeah, I mean Caufield compared to Teasdale, there's no, if that's what the decision has to be, I don't think you hesitate with it. Yeah, Teasdale's been playing. Another guy that maybe the last couple of weeks has tailed off a bit too, but and his skating is still the issue for me. I don't know that he, I keep getting asked, do you see him as a fourth line guy with the Habs down the road? Personally, I like Verbeek more, to be honest with you, as that kind of energy guy that can play a fourth line role and just give you those hard minutes whenever he's on the ice. If I had a choice between the two right now, but he's got really good hands. He's good in close when he gets there. I just have doubts that he's got the skating to play at the NHL level on a regular basis.
Now, the AHL is a really tough league. It's kind of a throwback to what the NHL was back in the 90s. There's a lot of big, tough guys. We saw a little bit of it in the last Laval game where there were two fights right at the same time.
I felt sorry for the cameraman there. He couldn't.
Yeah.
Need a wide angle lens.
Yeah. Oh God, which one? Oh, there's a good shot there. Oh, just pull back and watch both, I guess.
Yeah.
Now with Caufield coming in, how much more of an importance do they put onto guys, the veteran guys like Blandisi, Ouellet, Battic being the tough guy that they brought in? How much more of an importance do you see in that?
Yeah, well, it's possible that Caufield plays with Battic or Pezza, starting off. They might not even put him in the top six right off the bat. They might say, okay, I'm going to put you with Battic and whoever, there's a guy to protect you. Let's see how you do. We'll throw you on the first power play and maybe third line. Thing is, right now, when Caufield comes in, they've got a third line could be as good as the first line. What it seems like every night, like Wheel can be the best center one night, Blandisi or Paling, Vedamo when he comes back. Any of them can play like the top line center on any given night. So, I don't know that Laval's top six is set in stone. It's more like a top nine, and it just kind of varies from game to game. So you could see him on a line with Vedamo and Battic or something to start, and say, okay, here's your protection. We'll throw you on the first power play. It's going to be fun to see what they do. I'm hoping it's with Paling right away and say, okay, go guys. We're going to develop you guys, play you guys together right till you're ready for the NHL. Maybe even stay together at the NHL level. Like you see that a lot through the years where a duo kind of develops together at the AHL level and then eventually plays together in the NHL. So it could be, two first round picks. This season has been crazy for Bouchard. That he mustn't get a lot of sleep some nights. Just who do I put in? What do I do? Who comes out? It's just a crazy year in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides.
And that's a good point, Grant. Not to cut you off there, Blaine.
Yeah, go ahead.
But Montreal and Laval right now are so deep. Like both teams are. Like Montreal, when Toffoli and Stahl and Armia are all ready to come back, you have a full line that could play NHL minutes on any other team, pretty much sitting in the press box or on the taxi squad. Whereas you go down to Laval when Vedamo, Yolinen, and Caufield all come on again. In Laval, you have almost a full fifth line just, sitting there waiting to come in. I don't remember the last time Montreal had that much depth on their main team, let alone their main team and their farm team. And it just goes to show, this may sound a bit homerish, but just goes to show how well Bergevin and Timmins have done putting the two teams together and putting the depth into the organization.
And then on top of that, look at if, like, say the WHL didn't have their season, you'd have Fairbrother in there and you'd have Gooley as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's most depth they've had since Serge Savard was GM, I think, back in the 90s. And I think that's so important. You got to have you got to be able to have guys that should be playing in the NHL that aren't, and then when they get called up, they can just step right into the lineup. And I think it's a big reason why both clubs are over 600. I tweeted the other day that it's the first time in the second half of the year that both teams have been over 600 at any point in the second half of the season. And as far as a farm team being at 750, Montreal's never, even the Nova Scotia Voyageurs of the famous Voyageurs of the 70s, never had a 750 club. It's crazy how good the Laval is right now. Maybe the best regular season club that record-wise that the Canadians have ever had. So that's encouraging.
Do you think this team's better than the Calder-winning Hamilton team?
I do, yeah. I think so. I think they kind of caught lightning in the bottle there, and Carey Price, kind of stole that for him, really. Yeah, it's deeper for sure, and especially when Caufield comes in and he plays like we expect. Yeah, they're going to be quite a team. That's why I really hope that there's a playoff. It's going to be great for all these kids' development.
Yeah, if they could figure out a playoff for the AHL, I think that would be amazing. That way we can see more of Pezza's flow. That I think that hairstyle is probably one of the main reasons why Laval is doing so well, because he gets his helmet off in that fight and it just flows. It's amazing.
Interesting.
Well, he's a former Sudbury Wolf. I gotta pump his tires a little bit.
Scouting from Blaine Podford.
Yeah.
Draft this guy. I really love his hair.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's he looks like a wolf there almost. Yeah. No, I love Pez. He's great guy to have on your AHL team. I didn't mind the pick. I know people, he doesn't have enough offense. Yeah, well, 6th round pick. You get a character guy that can stick up for teammates and go out and give you energy on a bottom line role. I thought he was a perfect choice at the time in 6th round, instead of going for some 5'9" skilled guy that's never going to make the NHL. That backseat scouts always want you to draft. The 80-point scoring 5'9" guy that wouldn't check his hat. Why didn't they pick him? Well, sometimes you got to pick guys for roles. You want a team that has a bit of everything. And Pezza's a team guy, and I love him. Great guy.
People overlook that the importance of those character players that play in those bottom 6 roles and what they can bring, especially AHL level. Like you mentioned, Pezza, he defends his teammates. He can actually play a regular shift. Players like that, it's very important that they do add some of those guys, and they can't all be the veterans, because with the veteran rule in the AHL, you gotta deal with how many games they can play. You got to have certain number of them versus the prospects, and it's a horrible balancing act that they have to go through to get these guys on the ice.
Oh, for sure. And I like some of the picks Timmins and the staff have made in recent years on defense, especially where, Romanov, Gooley, Struble, all these guys, Fairbrother, they're they're going to hit you and hit you hard. Like that defense core for the next decade is going to be so fun to watch. It's like having 4 skilled Emmelins in the lineup at the same time. It's going to be. I'm really looking forward to how much they punish opponents in the future.
I'd love to see one of them pull the old hip check out like Emmelin used to do. Just get nice and low and just flip someone.
Yeah, well, it's coming.
They can't get as low as Treg, but they can get low.
I don't even have to bend over.
No.
Still take him out of the knees.
Yep, exactly.
That's his go-to move.
Yeah.
My only move.
So, do you guys have any last questions for Grant?
I've got one. I've got one
Mike.
really quick. With how well Laval has played this year, there's been a lot of eyes on the coach. Can you see an organization maybe trying to pry Bouchard out of the Canadiens organization?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
It seems like he's a perfect fit right now with where he is, and he's doing such good things.
Oh, for sure. And I think he's got a lot of talent there too. It's not like it's just been all Bouchard by any means.
That's true.
A guy like Verbeek comes in and can't even play for the first 6 weeks and looks like he should be top two lines on a lot of AHL teams, so he's dealing with a lot of depth and a lot of talent right now. It's a bit of both, but certainly, yeah, he great guy to talk to. Like those interviews when press conferences are just, he's a journalist dream in that regard. I hope he does get a shot sometime. He seems like a real honest, straight shooting, emotional guy that very passionate about the game. Um, I think he leans a little too heavily on the guys from the league and from the team that he used to coach and stuff. And I
Yep.
think that'll have to change. For he's not gonna. It's not gonna be 10 Q guys in the lineup in an NHL team if he gets to that point. That if there was one downside to his that I think needs to develop, it would be that you can't be biased in your evaluation. You have to pick the best players and go with them. But other than that, yeah, certainly he's developed talent really well. But does that mean he can coach at the NHL level? Like you say, it's two different things, right? Maybe this is the perfect spot for him, being a great AHL coach. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him get the opportunity at some time, but don't want that from personal point of view. Like, no, I want him to stay right where he is.
Absolutely.
To go back to drafting, just a quick here. How much in the recent drafting is Timmins making the call and Bergevin going with it? And like we've always said, under Gainey and under a few GMs, they pretty much made all the final decisions. Is Bergevin giving Timmins pretty much you do the drafting and I'll just go with your word, or is he still? Yeah, did you know what I'm getting at there, Grant? Or
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I was with the club when Gainey was you know uh, when Trevor was working under Gainey, and I wouldn't say that the final decision, especially for anything after the first pick. Maybe on the first pick, there's a little bit of, like Savard with Kostitsin, Andre Savard. Maybe
yeah,
had a little bit of input on that, and Gainey saying, "Yeah, take the goalie," but it's not like Trevor didn't like the goalie. He
okay,
asked him, should we take this guy or take the goalie? It was still up to Trevor. I don't know that he's always been, he makes the final decision on the draft picks.
okay.
That's all, it's always been that way. Um, Maybe a couple of instances where he got input from ownership or GM or whatever, but no, he's the guy, and I mean, I think he's been at the job way longer than anybody as far as a head scout for one NHL team goes. You
Yeah.
can't, I can't think of anybody that goes back to 90 or 2003 being the head scout. Um, I think Bergevin, they don't see these guys, right? They might see two or three games of the top guy,
Mhm.
maybe at the World Juniors, so they can't say, "Oh no, that's the guy." You got to leave it to the guys that scout 200 games a year, and that are seeing these guys. Bergevin maybe puts his input in for the first round pick a bit, and that becomes part of it. But as far as Trevor saying, "Oh well, Bergie wants this, so that's who we're going to pick," I really don't think that's ever happened.
Okay.
That's what I got.
So I think that pretty much exhausts our brain teaser questions. Can you give our listeners an idea of where they can find you and what they can expect from you in the near future?
They can find me in the living room. I'm, in front of my 70-inch screen TV, watching hockey. What else do you want to know?
What projects are you working on currently?
Oh, okay. Um, well, right now I kind of put on my draft cap and seeing that there's going to be a draft late July now. It's sort of been finalized with the U18s coming up in April. I'm actually finalizing my first top 32. I just didn't think it was fair up until now with the OHL and the WHL not playing to put together even a top 32. It's just not fair to the kids that aren't playing. But at this point, I gotta catch up with the other guys to a certain extent, and put something out there with a disclaimer saying OHL guys will be moving into here that we see, especially at the under 18s. There's a pile of them that are going to be playing that we haven't seen yet this year, and I'm going to be working diligently on getting the draft guide together over the next 3 months, as well as covering the every Laval game and Habs game. So really, really going to be busy. I mean, Montreal plays just about every night here over the next 30 days. So it's going to be crazy busy, but we're going to be driving the girlfriend crazy there, watching hockey about 18 hours a day. But, she knew what she signed up for, right?
Sometimes it's just a tough life, being forced to watch hockey that often. It's hard.
It's really tough.
But so for our listeners, if anyone wants to get on to the day-to-day coverage of the Canadians and Laval, go check out Recruits.ca. There's a ton of great content there. There's some amazing writers. I'm there sometimes. So
you said amazing writers.
Yeah, and then I mentioned myself afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. No, I mean, I'd be remiss not to mention that. While I'm doing this draft guide, Danny Mahar's still doing his game recaps, and he's been a godsend since he came on board there. It's like 2 seconds after the end of the game, boop, get this email from, he's written a friggin' tome, during the game. He's very prolific, good writer, and I've been really blessed to have him on board to cover all the games. And I mean, I realize you're a busy guy. You wear a lot of hats, and you write for, unfortunately, you write for someone else too. But your input's great when I get it, and then all the scouts that are working with me that are putting in their scouting reports. So I certainly couldn't cover all 3 leagues by myself, and it's great to have the help.
Now, for our listeners, when can we expect to get that? In a general term, when do we expect to see that top 32 get posted to Recruits?
Well, I had interviews with a couple NHL scouts on Friday, and I'm transcribing the notes for an hour and a half interview with one guy and 60 with another. So I'm getting all those notes together. Going to be doing another 8 hours or 10 hours of scouting of guys specifically that I think could be in the first round, and try to get out a list by Easter Monday, so that everyone's sitting around that isn't working and needs something to do. They can look at the Recruits' first top 32 of the year.
So, Grant, I want to thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate your input. I am looking forward to seeing the final draft guide come out in time for the draft. For me, it's something that I always go out and buy every year. I think it's important that we get a better view of some of these prospects. So, again, thanks for coming on. And I'm looking forward to reading your draft preview.
I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me the last couple of years there. All the retweets there, Mr. Smith, especially with that huge following you got there. It's
do what I can.
It's always really appreciated, and keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. And be sure to subscribe to the Recruits.ca YouTube channel. Check out the Habs Unfiltered YouTube channel. We're starting to put out some more content, so please subscribe to that. Make sure you hit the little bell so you don't miss any uploads, especially when Treg Wilson is putting out his Topless Tuesdays. And remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.